welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another installment of Let's Talk About It. I am your co-host, Mr. William Bertice, and today we have a very special guest with us today. But before we get into our introduction of who our guest is here with us, we're going to introduce everyone sitting at the table. And to the left of me, we have Mr. Clinton. What's your last name? James.
And so it
So you're
begins.
going to say Jackson for a minute.
And he's
My name is Clinton James. I'm your local real estate broker here in San Diego, California. If you want to learn anything or want to know anything about housing or real estate, get in contact with me. And I'll usually say often imitated, never duplicated.
Never duplicate.
My guy.
And to the very end, we have Mr. Mike Dunn.
What's going on, guys? It's Michael Dunn, CEO of Decade Financial Solutions. You guys already know money management, credit restoration, all that jazz. And you guys know where to find me, Mike the Money Guy, or 858-333-5536.
And to the right of Mike, we have Mr. Terrell Simmons.
Yes. It's Terrell Simmons, your organizational development career guru. Anything you need career-wise, I'm the man. Come see me. I'm always on the mic, and I always sound nice. I'm gonna work on that. I'm gonna work on that skill, but we getting there. We getting
I didn't know
there.
we were gonna rap tonight. We're gonna have a rap off at the end of the night.
I know, right?
We're trying to
Get my
do.
1-2s on.
The hub.
So Terrell, tell us who you have. Next
Oh
to you
man,
today.
I got a special guest in
Yeah.
the building today. Now, I met this young lady back at Walmart Labs, San Diego Tech Hub, and then she told me about this amazing book that she was working on. I want to say sometime last year, and it's finally here. Got Constance G. Jones. She's a San Diego native, an avid reader, a storyteller. Earned her bachelor's in management and organizational communications from Point Loma Nazareth University.
P&O.
Point. Are you part of that crew too?
I'm part of that same group.
What?
Y'all bring deep up in here.
You in the house?
What is it about San Diego people that don't leave San Diego and go right to PLU?
It's paradise, bro. What you
Okay,
that's
right.
what
Okay.
Get it
You
right.
trying to get to
Didn't
San
you? Where are
Diego.
you from?
I'm from DC.
Oh, so you came to San Diego.
Came to San
Why
Diego.
was that?
San Diego.
Oh, yeah.
See,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
out of this one.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
not
Yeah.
going to get into this one.
My man came all the way from the islands to San Diego, so you know
yeah,
he wanted.
Yeah, she since then she's worked in administration, public relations, career services. Most recently she serves as site manager for Walmart Global E-commerce, and they are doing some phenomenal things over there. I've got to take a look at their very innovative labs and see all the stuff they're doing. Constance founded Elevate Foundation with her husband Claude, who's driven by their personal mission to make an impact in local community and inspire others to do the same. Emerging Butterfly, a memoir, and Constance debut book. Let's give it up for our guest, Constance.
Woo!
Thank you.
Now, I want to dive into some of the work that before we dive into this book that you've been doing around San Diego, and want to applaud you for the work you're doing. I know you guys got to do something with Fancy. Tell the people recently about what you guys did for Fancy. I know it was about 5 or 6 months ago, but what was the experience like? What did you guys go do out there with Team Fancy?
It was really amazing to be able to see so many young girls getting into leadership and learning about what it takes to move forward. Basically from, where they are in San Diego right now. I grew up in a similar environment as they did, so I know the challenges that they're facing right now. With Elevate Foundation, right before the school year started, we wanted to donate some school supplies and some laptops to the girls to help them, with the upcoming school year. So that's what we did. It was really
Okay.
awesome.
Okay.
I spoke with the girls. It was a surprise thing.
Yeah.
So they were
Okay.
really, really excited.
Nice.
And then part of what we do with Elevate is, again, we inspire others to do the same. So while we're giving, we want to have other people, open up their hearts and give back as well. So one of the things we asked the girls to do was to also volunteer with us at the Ronald McDonald Foundation.
Nice.
And they came a few weeks later, brought their mom, their siblings, their cousins, and
Nice,
just
nice.
showed out. They didn't even have enough work to, keep us busy because
Love
there were
that.
so many
Right.
of us that
Love
showed up.
that.
So it was really, really awesome to see the impact that we were able to make and that they
Man,
made.
that's totally beautiful. And I mean, with all the things you could do, Constance, from your organization, from the stuff that you do behind the scenes, Walmart Labs and all that, you decided on top of all that, you're gonna write a book. Now, what inspired you to write this book?
Well, again, it goes back to, my roots in San Diego, growing up, not having much. I'm one of 9 children.
One of
Uh,
nine.
one of
Wow.
9, yes.
Whoa.
Wow.
Are you in the middle, oldest,
I'm
youngest?
number 4.
Okay.
Oh, so
Yeah,
you're
all
pretty
right.
much in the middle.
So yeah, you're in
In
the
the
front.
middle.
Yeah,
You're
right.
strapped on.
Right.
You
Yeah.
you can't be the last to the table.
Oh, no, not at all. I was actually, one of the older siblings that had to take care of the 5 underneath me.
Right,
So
yeah.
Wow.
it was pretty busy. My mom was single parent most of the time.
Okay.
So, we lived in a small 2-bedroom apartment and
Okay.
off of Home Avenue
Whoa.
for a very
Okay.
long time. So, it was challenging growing up in that environment. But
Yeah.
because of that, and getting into doing more of the community work, we realized, or at least I realized that, I wanted to tell my story. There's power in telling your
Yes.
story
Yes.
and making
Right.
people feel that they're not alone, that we all have similar challenges, and it's how we deal with those challenges. And so I feel like my life is an inspiration for others to say, hey, your past doesn't define your future.
Love that.
And
Right.
so that's what I wanted to do with Emerging Butterfly. I wanted to write a story that showcased that.
I
Love that.
Nice.
Yeah.
The
love
title,
that.
Emerging
I
Butterfly.
yeah. I was just
I
thinking
was
that.
like-
I was just thinking that.
How did you get your wings? Like, how did you come up with this title?
So because I feel like I made this transformation. It's similar to what a butterfly goes through, right? They
Yeah.
start out of the cocoon and then they're in the darkness of that, trying to find their way out. A lot of layers are shed and they are reborn something new. And so I feel like that's what happened with my life. And so Emerging Butterfly kind of, just came together.
Yes.
Nice.
But
How-
what do you think is the difference of someone such as yourself emerging from the person you once were to the butterfly that you are today? Why don't you think most people can make that transition from caterpillar to butterfly?
I think a lot of people get stuck, and they instead of moving forward or finding out what they can do to take that next step, they are stuck in a cycle.
Yeah.
I know that my parents, they recreated the cycle that they had growing up. Their parents were abusive. Their parents were alcoholics. And so my parents got together and they just continued that cycle. And unless you really seek out something different or you have someone step into your life and mentor you or show you a different type of lifestyle, you don't know. And
Yeah.
so you can get stuck in that space. And for me, I had people in my life that came and, whether it was a teacher or, a counselor or, parents, one of my friend's parents that came in and they kind of showed me something different. But that doesn't happen for everyone. We're not always, that lucky or,
Yeah.
Or we don't have that inner motivation to do it. Some people have it, some people don't. Some people need that help to get them to that next step to realize there is more to life. And for me, that's how I was able to emerge a butterfly and go through that transition. But some people aren't able to do that. Yeah.
So my question is, I like any book that shows you transformation, reconciliation, and emerging into a brand new person. I love that because as a Christian, for me, that's what my Christian life is about. You came from everybody has a past.
Yes.
Now, when people say that people are products of the environment, how would you like react to that, or what's your opinion on that?
Well, I definitely think that your past, has a huge effect on who you are. Like, you can't get rid of your past. You take that with you wherever you go. That is, whether it's trauma, whether it's good things, whether, any type of bad things, that is something that will be with you forever. But it's the way that you deal with those things that where you're not just burying all of those experiences. You're using those experiences to empower you and help you to push through and help other people. So I think that is really, really important.
Right.
Yeah, I love that. I have a saying, God takes your mess and your age and puts it together to make your message. And yeah.
That's really good.
Um,
Now it's kind of I know. I'm sorry.
no, you're good. You're good.
So I mean, I'm thinking about everything you're talking about, and I'm like, man, to take my darkness and to sit there and write about it and talk about the journey, like. What was that? What was the most difficult things to write in your book? Because I let alone sitting with it just to sit with it, but have to sit with it and form it into a beautiful story.
Thank you.
Like, how was that process?
The most difficult thing I would say that I had to talk about that I thought maybe I didn't want to include was talking about my miscarriages. So I've had 5
Whoa,
miscarriages.
okay.
And, for a long time, I was ashamed. I didn't want to tell people. People would ask, hey, are you guys going to have children? And, I didn't know how to answer that question because I had been through so much. And I didn't want to hear, people being empathetic or, oh, it's okay. Oh, you
Yeah.
should try to do this. Or,
Right.
my friend did that. I wasn't really open to that.
Yeah.
And it's something that remains private for a lot of people.
Yes.
Even after, I wrote a blog post about it and a lot of people read it and they would come to me in private and say, oh, my wife and I went through that. Or, this is what happened. But they're
Yeah.
whispering,
Yeah.
right? Because there's a part of them that feels ashamed and embarrassed
Right.
and like they're missing something, that they're not able to do something that they should be able to do.
Yeah.
And so that was really difficult for me to open up. One of my pregnancies, I got up until 20 weeks. So, I hid that pregnancy from all
Yeah.
of our family and friends because I had had 3 previous to that. And
Yeah.
I didn't want to get people excited and then,
Have the letdown
have
of
the letdown
yeah.
yet again. And so, so that was just heartbreaking. And so that was something I thought about not writing about, but I just felt like because people read that, that blog post that I
Yeah.
wrote, I was like, wow, there is power in this, that people really need to know that they're not the only ones that go through this.
Absolutely.
There's nothing to be ashamed of.
Right.
You can move, past all the pain and find different ways to get back and to have a family and have that extended impact in the world. And you don't necessarily have to have children to do that. But,
Yeah.
Right.
you can, there's so many options.
There's
but
so many, yeah.
you
There's so
don't
many
have
different
be
ways to do that.
ashamed. Yeah.
Yeah, I really love that. Like it's so interesting because I think sometimes we get hit with such like detrimental trauma or detrimental situations and we get into a state of kind of fear where we feel like 1, we're alone, or 2, nobody cares, or 3, somehow the pain that we're experiencing is different than someone else's pain, right?
Right.
And I find that like the more open that I am about my past, the more open I am about my transgressions and what I've gone through, I seem to find healing in that, but I also find myself being of like maximum service that way as well, So I think it's beautiful to find that you were able to really do that and be vulnerable and
Right.
express yourself in this way.
It sounds kind of like you've kind of taken that pain and kind of owned that story. And I know you talk a little bit about a book in the book, but just for those listening out there, somebody who might be going through that same thing, how do you really kind of take that pain or own that story? What do you mean by when you say in the book when you want to own that story and really grasp it by the horns?
I feel that owning your story is basically living your truth, being true to, your authentic self.
Yes.
And so there are so many things that come with that. We're very complicated beings, right? But in order to flourish in life, you have to be able to take the good and the bad
Absolutely.
and blend them, like you said,
Yeah.
and use that to empower yourself to, take the next step in life. I mean, really, it is saying, hey, this is who I am. I'm not my circumstances. These things happen to me, but I'm still powerful. I'm still strong. I can still move forward. I can still have the life
Yeah.
that I want, but I have to own it. I can't run away from my problems. I can't be a victim of my circumstances. I have to own where I am and decide where I want to go in life.
I
One of
love
the
that.
things,
I have a
that-
quick question for you. No, I'll wait till probably after the break. I'll ask my question, but
Yeah, we do need to.
Yeah, let's take a break.
because this is about I can already tell we're about to
Yeah,
get
we about to-
everybody's just
This is
We
about to
about
go
to go
overtime.
in.
Yeah. It's always to where bringing all the good people.
All right, so let's go ahead and you want to take us away? to
Yeah,
commercial
you're
break?
listening to Let's Talk About It. We're going to take a quick commercial break and we'll see you in a moment.
Born December 23rd, 1867, Sarah Breedlove, better known as Madam C.J. Walker, was lauded as the first Black woman millionaire in America for her successful line of hair care products. In 1905, Walker, who had been losing her hair, sought a treatment for the condition. She invented a line of African-American hair products that she promoted by traveling around the country, giving lectures and demonstrations. She established Madam C.J. Walker Laboratories to manufacture cosmetics and train sales beauticians using her Walker method, involving her formula for pomade and using the hot comb to straighten the hair. Miss Walker opened her first beauty school in Pittsburgh and transferred her business to Indianapolis. Her business became wildly successful, with profits that were the modern-day equivalent of several $million. This moment in Black history is sponsored by Janet Pearson Miller, owner of Heritage and Gloria Strands Salon, customized hair alternatives for everyday women. When faced with the unexpected loss of a loved one, no one can fully be prepared to know the next steps to take. The emotional toll alone is oftentimes too difficult and hard to bear. At Preferred Cremation and Burial, we're here to help and serve you. Our trusted team of professionals have one goal, and that's to provide you and your family with the very best in quality and service. We'll guide you every step of the way in making informed decisions that truly honor the memory of your loved one. Preferred Cremation and Burial is located at 6406 University Avenue in San Diego. Call our offices today at 619-584-7000 or visit our website at www.preferredcremation.org. Preferred Cremation and Burial offers excellence in service. Call us today at 619-584-7000. We're here to serve you.
On Sunday, February 23rd, San Diego State University will host the SDSU Super Sunday Gospel Fest and Resource Fair inside Montezuma Hall. The doors for the Resource Fair open at 5:30 and the festival starts at 6:30 p.m. The event will feature two main parts.
A resource fair for students K through 12 and their families, providing them with valuable information on how to prepare and pay for college. Followed by an amazing Super Sunday Gospel Fest featuring award-winning gospel recording artist Bashawn Mitchell.
Along with Jessica Clemens, Kiera Daffin, DeJuan James, and multiple San Diego choirs, hosted by comedian and praise and worship leader Jarrell Quinn.
All are invited to come out and experience the Power of Partnership on Sunday, February 23rd, 5:30 p.m. The CSU's Graduation Initiative 2025
aims to eliminate achievement gaps and increase graduation rates across the 23 campuses, including San Diego State University. For more information on tickets, the Super Sunday Gospel Fest and Resource Fair,
please call Asia Jones at 619-594-5211. That's 619-594-5211. Or email her at asia.jones@sdsu.edu, spelled ASHA.jones@sdsu.edu.
or simply just go to Eventbrite and type in Super Sunday SDSU. Hope to see you there.
That's very, very descriptive.
Oh, shoot. You bring us in.
Okay. All right, welcome back to Let's Talk About It. We got a lovely guest in the building. But before we get to our guest, let's do another rendition. Over to my right, we got...
We're doing a rendition. My name is William Bertice, and I'm your guy with the cash. If you need money to buy a home or to take money out of your home or get a better rate on your home, give me a call, 619-484-2843.
And my name is Clinton James, your local real estate broker here in San Diego. You can reach me at 619-384-9269.
And of course, Michael Dunn, CEO of Decade Financial Solutions. You can find us at decadesolutions.com. If your credit score starts with a 4, a 5, or a 6, we need to talk.
And Terrell Simmons, your career coach, the hostess with the mostest. I'm going to do a new rendition every time. But the real host here, and our guest tonight, Constance Jones, Emerging Butterfly. I wish I had a video camera so I could show it to you. But I know before we left off, we had a great question.
Oh, yeah. Yes,
so
I did.
Jump back in there.
You know, so something that I've always been curious about, because I eventually want to write a book at some point. Can you walk us through just like what is the systematic process that you like? How do you go from, okay, I have this idea, this really powerful idea, and then to this? Like, how do we walk me through those steps? Like, how do we get there? How did we get to here?
Okay.
And how long was that journey? What was that journey like for you?
So the journey for me was about 1.5 years. I know a lot of
Okay.
people go, "Oh, that's so quick," but I had been thinking about this for, a few years.
Okay.
About, okay, if I wrote a book one day, what would it include type of thing.
Okay.
So I was on vacation actually, and I was just like, everything was peaceful. And I said, you know what? I'm meditating, I'm chilling. Maybe I might write an outline about
Yeah.
what I would talk about if I wrote a book. And that outline, became, more and more detailed. And, once I got home, I was just, excited and I wanted to keep writing. So,
Yeah. Okay.
I had a few chapters, and I was like, okay, this is going well. This is
Okay. So
going
you had some
well.
momentum
So I
going.
had
Yeah.
some momentum going. So I reached out because this was the first time I ever even considered, really going in and,
Yeah.
and writing the book and what it take to do that. So I found a wonderful editor, and she kind of helped me with a little bit of developmental
Yeah.
aspects of it, just so I could structure it correctly. And so that was a huge help. So basically, working with her for like 6 months throughout the process
Nice.
of the book.
Okay.
But during the writing process, I was also researching, watching YouTube videos for bookstagrammers
Okay. YouTube
and
University. Love
bloggers
that.
and all that stuff. So I could learn the, behind the scenes, like, proofreaders, beta readers, how much it costs to do this, how much
Yeah.
it costs to do that. So there's a lot of research involved, but yeah, and then just planning a strategic plan of, okay, this is step number 1, finish the book. This is step number 2, get it edited.
Yeah.
This is step number 3, find proofreaders. This, you know what I mean? And then I
Okay.
just had my list and I just knocked one down.
Yeah,
And that
so-
took
back
about
to
a
back.
year and a half
That took
from.
about a year and a half. I
Okay.
also had to do interviews because it's a memoir. There are gaps, in your,
Yeah.
your mind of what happened this year. So, I did a lot of interviews with my family members, especially my mom, and that really gave me a new perspective on who she was. I learned a lot about her that I didn't know, and that really like blew my mind.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, I didn't know that about you. I grew up with you, but there's so many things
Yeah.
about
Absolutely.
the
Right.
individual that I didn't know because I was a child. So,
Yeah.
interviewing her really helped. And my other family members, they helped, fill in some of the gaps for me. But yeah.
Yeah, it sounds
yeah.
like you really immersed yourself in the process. No pun intended.
Yeah,
but-
because it's so interesting, right? Because when we see a book, right, and we see the author, and we don't sometimes, I know I'm guilty of this, like realizing that there's like a whole collective like spirit of a group conscious that's kind of infused in this story, right? That's full of characters and everything that's shaped the memoir itself, and so that's really good to know. I didn't know that there's such an arduous process, which is cool though. But thank you for that.
And my question is, Miss Constance Jones, I'm impressed that you were able to be so vulnerable.
Yeah.
We appreciate that, especially in our community. Number one, and one of the things that that impresses me, and I would love for you to like elaborate on it, is grief. Yeah, you said that you had a couple of miscarriages, and I know that had to be very like close to your heart. And right now, and we see with the death of Kobe Bryant and his daughter, a lot of people are grieving. How would you say, Miss Constance, how did you deal with that grief?
Gosh, the first step was just embracing it. I just had to own it, right?
Yeah.
This is how I'm feeling. It's not wrong that I'm feeling this way. I need to fully relieve my grief. So, I spent a couple of months, I would just cry whenever I felt like it. I didn't hold it in. I would take time off from work if I needed it, just so I could make sure that I was letting myself, grieve. And because you have to do that before you can heal.
Yeah.
There's no way you can hold on to it and then say, okay, it's over, push it aside.
Right.
It didn't bother me. Like after each miscarriage, it got worse and worse and worse.
Wow.
Yeah.
At the end, like by the fourth one, I would say I had to go into therapy to really help me. And that's another thing that, in our
That's a
community.
taboo
Yeah,
subject
we
in our
don't-
community.
we
but
don't-
Talk that
it's
talk.
definitely needed.
Talk that talk. Yeah.
We don't do that, but I
Yeah.
had to, in order to pull me out of that grieving. I think I was staying there a little bit too long, and I needed some help to pull me out. So that's
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
did. Yeah.
Now, last week we had I had a therapist on, and one was like going into the health care space, and we were talking about divorce, relationships, and so forth. And I know that was a tough time for you, but how would you say, because you and Claude are still together today, you look as happy as could be, that time that you guys were going through this, or you were going through it, how was that, and were you able to emerge from that, and what type of effect did it have on the relationship?
I would say, Claude is always very supportive, and he knew how much we wanted to have this family.
Yeah.
But and we both always, thought we would have children. So once we were faced with this infertility, issue, it's like I felt that I let him down, that my
Yeah.
body betrayed me, and I couldn't give him what, he deserved to have as a husband. He wanted to be a father. And how do you reconcile those two things, because after that last miscarriage, I said, I'm done. I don't want to try to get pregnant. I don't want to do
Yeah.
any type of outside fertility treatments. I'm not interested in adopting for us. That wasn't something that I felt I wanted to do, but I
Yeah.
wanted to make an impact through Elevate Foundation. But it was difficult for a while, and he actually even attended therapy with me a few times just
Yeah.
to find out how he could support me and how he was dealing with his grief and how I could support him. So we had to come together on that. But yeah, I mean, it took a while. We were definitely just both just really sad and really
Yeah.
depressed for quite some time. So that did, bring down our relationship. But ultimately, we love each other so much that doesn't matter. As long
Yeah.
as we have each other, we can get through anything. And that's kind of like our motto. So even though we had those challenging times in our relationship, we came out stronger.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, one question I sometimes ask other women that I see make these transitions into emerging butterflies, and it will hit some type of trauma, and I'm not sure if my brothers would agree with me. How can we as Black men support women when they're going through their trauma that help them in their journey to emerge as butterflies? Like, what should our role be, and how do you think we could best support?
Definitely listening, just listening, not offering any advice.
No.
Just being there, to hug, to, encourage, to soothe. But, you don't have to be a problem solver.
Yeah.
You can't solve this for me. I got to go through this, right? And just being there. And I mean, ultimately, that's the most important thing I could say is just be there and offer support.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really that simple. And then I feel like once you have that and you feel safe and it's a trusted environment, then, you will open up and you'll talk a little bit more and, you can support a little bit more by having the conversations. But you have to let the woman be ready to do that,
Okay.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I got five words that I've used that have been a game changer in my relationship. How can I support you? Just that simple. Like, how can I support you? Like, and it sounds like so simple, but my dad says this all the time. It's like we spend so much, even with our family, we're guilty of this. We spend so much time like psychoanalyzing each other and like coming up with all these reasons why you were feeling the way that you're feeling instead of just allowing you to feel it and just being like, you know what? Like, if this is where you're at, like, I'm going to sit down with you in the dirt and we're going to be in the dirt together until you decide that we're not going to be in the dirt. And how can I support you? And and that's a really powerful thing. So I know as men, we have a tendency, as soon as we see a problem, fix it. Especially entrepreneurs, man. Oh my God, like we get excited when we see problems. We're like, ooh, challenge, time to solve it.
From a husband who haven't quite gone through the same issues, but having a kid that has health issues. So quick praise report. My son was in the hospital for almost 4 months.
Yeah.
He just got out.
Come
Saturday.
on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Come on.
So we're
That's amazing.
pretty happy and excited about that.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm about to lose my mind because this kid is in here for almost 4 straight months, a quarter of a year.
Yeah.
And the reason why I was going to lose my mind is because I had to be whatever I needed to be in this relationship between my wife and I and our family. I remember having a conversation with your dad about this.
Yeah.
Being a good husband is you have to be whatever you need to be at that moment.
Right.
So if you have to be a shoulder to cry on, you have to be that. If you have to just be there for hours and give her a break, you got to be there. If you just got to let her be there and just handle it the way she needs, you have to do that. So I know one of the hard things in relationship is when you're going through something, and especially when it comes to your child, it is so easy to say, okay, had you done this or had you done that. But the truth be told, that's something you have no control over.
Yeah.
You do the best you can do, and you have no control over the health of the child. During pregnancy, all you can do is just sit there and just pray and ask God, okay, I don't understand this situation, but just help guide us into the right direction
Yeah.
with this. So I'm glad you're able to speak about this because one, you're not alone. Everyone does go through their different traumas in different ways. Yours is one situation, mine is one situation, and we all have that one thing we have to deal with a family member. And I think it's important that you continue to do things such as this book, the blogs, and going to part of organizations, speaking on radio shows like this, because there's so many people out there in pain. I see it at the hospital all the time, and they're not in your mind because you don't see them.
Right.
But then when you walk, it's like, man, this person needs some type of encouragement.
Right.
And it's such a blessing to know that someone is out there that has dealt with this, and they said, I've been through this. You too can overcome this. This is how you do it.
Love that.
Right. Nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, I know you, we briefly alluded to the conversation and interviews you had with your mom earlier. How has that kind of changed your perception of your childhood to your adulthood from going back and revisiting some of that?
It was really painful to go back to a lot of different things. You know, I really resented my parents when I was a kid because I felt like they made the wrong choice over and over again, and I couldn't understand why. But, you know, looking back now and having spoken with my mom about this at length, it's, you know, I understood because of her background. You know, she was, you know, molested as a child by her brother, and her parents were alcoholics, and all she saw was fighting and arguing. And, you know, my father, the same thing. His mother committed suicide when he was like 5, and his father used to, you know, physically abuse him. So they had these really horrible backgrounds, and so that's who they were attracted to, people like them with the same story. Right. And so, you know, I didn't know that. So I've seen them making these decisions, getting back together, and him leaving and going to prison and coming back and then back together again. And every time he came back, he would just, everything would be chaos all over again. And so for a long time, I was angry, I was depressed, I resented them. And, but as I got older and I matured, I realized that it's more complicated than that, right?
Yeah.
It's not just me seeing them like, oh, why is she doing it again? There was something behind the scenes going on with her that maybe she didn't even realize why she was, continuing with these cycles. So looking back now, you know, at where she was, I can see that she was just hurt, lonely, confused.
Yeah.
She didn't know what
No
she
solution.
was doing. None. And so I have compassion now. I was able to forgive her and forgive myself for holding on to that anger for so long. And the same with my father. I felt the same way. I had to pray and I had to forgive, and that's the only way I would free myself. You know, so
yeah, they say that's a great part of the healing process. Just forgiveness is not for you. Forgiveness is not for others. It's for you, so that you can grow and heal. So.
Yeah, holding on to. I mean, man, we are getting into some heavy stuff here. I mean, I can break my own anonymity, so it's okay. I'm a recovered alcoholic. You know, I'll be 3 years sober in April. No need it.
No, that's a good accomplishment.
It is. It is.
So huge accomplishment.
Yeah, it is. It is. But I mean, I really, you hit one of the big ones. It's even one of the 4 horsemen in our work is resentments. You know, when I look at resentments, resentments is like drinking poison and expecting it to hurt the other person. You know, and we hold on to them for so long that what happens is we even become blind to our own resentment. We don't even realize that we're holding on to this, right? And then you're talking about alcoholism, you know, where it's just this compulsion, this disease of the mind, body, and allergy of the body, right? And with no solution, and it's just going untreated, right? And it's just being exacerbated in all these different situations that you're describing. So, and then for you to take all that and put it into this book and use it as a beacon to help others heal.
The crazy part
about it is that God is good.
The crazy part about all this too is you had a big family. You guys 9 kids?
Yeah.
More than 9? Yep. And then I mean, let alone everything that was going on with mom and dad.
Yeah, right.
You got these other siblings. What was it like growing up in your household?
Oh my goodness.
This is like a Jackson 5 movie. I just picture.
But it's like 5 other members.
Yeah.
That's like a starting 5 plus the bench.
Yeah.
I don't even know how we survived in that environment. But we had each other. But yeah, it was chaos. All of us sleeping in one bed. I didn't have my own bed until I was 14,
Oh, wow.
and I didn't even realize that until recently. I was talking to Claude. I'm like, you know what? I never even got to sleep in my own bed until I was 14
Wow.
because there were so many of
Yeah.
them, and so.
Because you said it was a
little space.
2-bedroom, right?
A 2-bedroom.
No.
We did eventually move when I was about 15 into a bigger space, but yeah, it was. And that's when I was able to get my own bed. But
Yeah.
it was really chaotic. But we had love. Surprisingly, everybody in our neighborhood wanted to hang out at our house. And we had no room. And I'm like, where are all these people coming
Yeah.
from? Then my mom every so often would say, oh, this person, they're homeless right now. They're in between apartments. They need to stay with us. So it'd be like a couple and 2 extra kids.
Yeah.
And I'm
Oh,
like,
wow.
where are these
Yeah,
people
but you could do
gonna
that back in
go?
the day.
Yeah, right? You're there. You support people when they need it.
Yeah.
So,
Nice.
she had a good heart. But
Nice.
yeah, it was we were
But-
everywhere.
We're going to take another quick commercial break. We're having a good conversation here. You're listening to Let's Talk About It. We'll see you in a few.
Dr. Dorothy Smith was born in a rural area of Memphis, Tennessee, to Reverend and Miss Theodore White, and graduated as valedictorian in 1957 from Weekly High School. She has earned a bachelor and a master's degree, both in English in addition to a doctorate in educational leadership from USC. Dr. Smith was the first African-American woman to be elected to public office in the city of San Diego and served as a board member for San Diego Unified Schools from 1981 to 1988. She has worn several hats at Common Ground Theater for the past 16 years, such as board member, president, production manager, and chief volunteer. Dr. Smith is a Golden and Life member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and is a recipient of numerous educational awards. This moment in Black history has been sponsored by Women of Influence California, an organization dedicated to encouraging women to be the salt and light of the world. Please visit our Facebook page, Women of Influence California, to learn about our vision and to see dates for our upcoming luncheons.
February is the month of love, and this is the time when we demonstrate our expressions of love to those who mean the most to us. Let estate planning attorney Antoinette Middleton show you how to protect your loved ones at her estate planning workshop on February 22nd from 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. at the Skyline Hills Library, located at 7900 Paradise Valley Road in San Diego. One of the ways to show your loved ones that you care is by creating a legacy. This workshop will help you understand the value of estate planning and make sure your wishes are honored. Seating is limited, so register today. Call the office of Antoinette Middleton at 619-235-9501, extension 302, or email info@lawofficesofam.com to attend the estate planning workshop with attorney Antoinette Middleton.
On Sunday, February 23rd, San Diego State University will host the SDSU Super Sunday Gospel Fest and Resource Fair inside Montezuma Hall. The doors for the Resource Fair open at 5:30 and the festival starts at 6:30 p.m. The event will feature 2 main parts.
A resource fair for students K through 12 and their families, providing them with valuable information on how to prepare and pay for college, followed by an amazing Super Sunday Gospel Fest featuring award-winning gospel recording artist Bashan Mitchell.
Along with Jessica Clemens, Kiera Daffin, DeJuan James, and multiple San Diego choirs, hosted by comedian and praise and worship leader Jarrell Quinn.
All are invited to come out and experience the power of partnership on Sunday, February 23rd, 5:30 p.m. The CSU's Graduation Initiative 2025
aims to eliminate achievement gaps and increase graduation rates across the 23 campuses, including San Diego State University. For more information on tickets, the Super Sunday Gospel Fest and Resource Fair,
please call Asia Jones at 619-594-5211. That's 619-594-5211. 888-888-1111 or email her at asia.jones@sdsu.edu, spelled ASHA.jones@sdsu.edu.
Or simply just go to Eventbrite and type in Super Sunday SDSU. Hope to see you there.
All right, welcome to Let's Talk About It. We're back with our special guest this evening. But before we get back into our guests, well, actually, now I'm gonna wait for the end. They know.
Yeah. Let's jump right back into it. They know what it is. Yeah. They know what it is.
So, Constance, we was talking about how lovely the family is. I want to know. Wait. Nah, how's your sister? No, I'm just kidding.
This one right here. He has issues. He has
I want
issues.
to know. Because out of 9 siblings, and I know everybody has their own story. Did you get the chance to like talk to any of the siblings in your interviews, and how
Yes.
did that process go? And
So I didn't interview everybody just
Okay.
because my brothers, they weren't really into it.
there's
so
like, you ain't
much.
about to
Yeah.
Really?
get all out the
Yeah.
street.
Really?
All vulnerable.
Really, I mean, like, I'm gonna be honest. 2 of them I didn't even ask because
Yeah.
they're just like.
Are you guys a tight knit group or?
I mean, okay, so there were so many of us growing up that,
Yeah.
we were tight, but then as we got older, all of us just wanted to get out. Like, you know what I mean? It was just
Right.
like, I'm free.
Yeah.
I'm ready, right? So that's how I was when I was,
Yeah.
I
Right.
basically raised my younger sisters. And, when I got accepted to PLNU, I was just like, I'm out. I didn't go back home very often. So, so they kind of grew up without me for the most part.
Man.
And so that kind of created some separation with us. But, as we've gotten older, we've tried to, come back together again. So it's still a work in progress,
Yeah.
of course, but we get together on the holidays. Somebody's kid is always having a birthday.
Yeah.
So, so we get together often. But yeah, I didn't ask 2 or 3 of my brothers about it. But one of my sisters, she went chapter by chapter with me. And
Yeah.
so,
Okay.
Oh,
you
that
know,
must have been cool.
yeah, that was cool.
Now, what was her perspective on it? Because I know, even because I have a big age gap with my siblings, and when I moved out, once I was like you, I came to the West Coast from the East Coast. I was like, oh man, I ain't got no snow. This is palm trees. Yeah, this is nice. And then when I go back and we talk about our childhoods, they have a different version of like
Of what's happened.
of
Yeah.
what's happened. And so,
Totally.
what was her perspective like?
She was like, "What? That happened? I didn't know that. I didn't know that about mom.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!" And, like stories in there. I tell about my dad because my dad, little spoiler, he became a pastor at one point.
Oh, wow.
Outta here.
Okay.
That's why you gotta read my book. It's like, what the heck?
Yeah.
What? Anyway, we were all looking like, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
Like, craziness. But anyway, yeah. Mhm.
Well, one thing we were chatting offline, and one thing that we were trying to understand was how did you get your parents, of all people, to open up, knowing that they were going to be vulnerable in this book? How did you approach them with that? Like,
Well, I didn't talk to my father about it.
What? You didn't talk to the pastor?
I didn't talk to the pastor. The pastor is doing his own thing.
Oh God.
I haven't spoken to him in like over a decade.
Oh man.
Whoa.
Yeah, he got back on the alcohol again. And
Yeah.
Oh,
he's
no.
just wasn't
It's
able.
bad.
It's bad.
Man.
So so yeah, I haven't talked to him or seen him in over a decade.
Oh,
But
yeah.
my mom, it was hard for her because we had some hard conversations, and she was like, I didn't know you felt that way.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
crying with some of the stuff I did let her read. So I was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna hold off a
Look.
little bit, not show you everything
Right.
because it was very emotional for her. But
Right.
but yeah, it's hard for some things, especially when you're close to your parents, to
Right.
hear some of the pain that you're going through,
Yeah.
and him to not have been aware of it.
yeah.
But there was no way for her to be able to do that with 9 kids and working and being a single.
Yeah, I find it so interesting. I think it's difficult even with 2 kids.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
like I look at my brother and I, we have a pretty large age gap apart. And to listen to his perspective on like his childhood, his upbringing, his and we have the two parents, same 2
Mhm,
parents,
mhm.
right?
Mhm.
There's something to be said because I think we forget that like our parents are growing too, right? So they're in their own stage of evolution. And so when they have me at 24, 25, and then they have my brother at 32, 33, it's completely completely different mindset of where they're at in their lives and who they are, and that shapes the reality of both children, right? Growing up in the same household.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting to hear that.
Totally different experiences.
So
Yeah.
do you think through her conversations with you, there was also some sadness and so forth, but do you feel like there was a sense of healing on her? I know it was healing on your side, but do you feel that she started to get her sense of healing?
I do, because we had a very complicated relationship. We would be close for a while, and then something would happen, and I'd stop talking to her. I just always felt that I wasn't enough
Yeah.
with my mom. Like, I was the one that was, had my life together for the most part. Out of some of my other siblings that had children early and things like that, I was, the first one to go to college in my family and
Nice.
graduate from college, and
Congrats.
things like that.
Love that.
Thank you. And so, so for her, it was difficult to hear some of those things. But at the end, I think that she really came to understand that this was therapeutic for me. And by telling me the truth of what happened to her, she was able to release some of those things, and we were able to come back together. But we had a lot of times where, we didn't talk for a year or talk for 2 years, and we come back together just because different circumstances, things happen. But yeah.
Right. So looking back at your book, what would you say is the takeaway? Because there's a lot of little nuggets in here. What was the takeaway?
I talk about a whole lot.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
right? That you would like your readers to get from this book. What's some of the?
I would say that number one, you're not alone.
Okay.
You are not.
You're not alone.
This guy.
Who sang that song?
This
There
guy.
you go. All right.
No, I sung the original. I'll imitate it.
This guy, he's gonna get us in trouble.
You gotta let Michael fix it. All
All
right.
right. So number one, you're not alone.
You're not alone. You are above your circumstances.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, let's stab it up.
Yeah,
there.
right.
Oh,
You are above your
You're
circumstances.
above your circumstances. You can
Break
rise
that
above
down.
them.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, right.
Break-
That was like
I
that.
don't think y'all heard it. She said,
Right?
You break it down for me.
Yeah.
President Magnus, President Willie.
Are we okay? Yeah.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah. What I mean by that is that, you can't let your past define you. And, we all find ourselves in circumstances that are less than ideal, right? But, you can't let that stop you from becoming who you're supposed to be, but the choice is yours. It always lies with you. So you can sit there and you can be a victim,
Yes.
or you can be a warrior and say, hey,
Yes.
I this is what's happening right now, but this is not how it's always going to be.
Right.
There's a way out, and I'm going to find out what that out is, and I'm going to take that.
And
out.
here's a kick in the head too. You can actually be both at the same time.
That
You can
is
be a
true.
victim and be a warrior at the same time. Just because you identify with being a victim doesn't mean that is going to be the defining, narrative to your story. I am a victim, like myself as an example, right? Like, I am an alcoholic, but I'm also an entrepreneur. I'm an alcoholic, but I'm also a businessman. I'm an alcoholic, but I'm also a brother. I'm also a son. I'm also all these other things that make me who I am, so you
yeah,
can be
drop it.
both.
Dropping
I
bombs.
got
I
something-
definitely agree with that.
I got something I want to put out there. So when I was in the dating scene years ago,
Oh my God. Did he just say what he was dating?
and I'm bringing this up because I want to
Years ago.
Back in the 70s? Back in the 70s.
Yeah, and I'm asking this because you married to Claude, a real good guy.
Mhm.
I made it a point to say I want to stop dating girls who do not have a good relationship with their father, because I noticed that whenever I did, whatever issues we had going on, it was unresolved issues that they had with their parents or their father. So tell me about how you and Claude connected and how you were able to not allow your parents' past relationship affect your current relationship and marriage.
Well, I would say that it did affect our relationship. You know what I mean? Because that is a part of my past.
Yeah.
And that's something that was, that was ingrained in me since I was a child. I've seen my father do a lot of really terrible things. So, and I've been married before, and so I've been in other relationships to where things, weren't great. And I think because of that, I brought some of those things into our relationship. I mean, and there are probably still some things that I need to work on and that I'm working towards being better at.
Yeah.
But those things came with me because of my past, but that doesn't mean that I have to stay there. I can work on them. So maybe I might have an issue with trust in its one area, right? Because I saw my dad do something in that area, and I'm like, no, I'm not opening myself up to you in that way. I'm not being vulnerable in that way because I know what happens when you do that. But that was just that situation in my past. That's not reality. That's
Yeah,
not how
that-
it's
yeah,
supposed
that's
to
not
be in a
today.
relationship. It's not today.
Yeah.
So sometimes I have to remind myself of that when I start replaying that story in my head when certain things occur, like your immediate response is, hey, I remember what this is like, instead of saying, hold on, wait, that was then, this is now, that's not what's going on.
Yeah.
And change your focus.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, because we see every time that a lot of my experience is that a lot of people, especially women, they don't acknowledge that. That's something that they hide or sweep under the rug, and you see it pop up, as William say, in relationships or when they are going through something that reminds them of the past, because there is a little bit of trauma there, and I appreciate you sharing that and being vulnerable with that, because that's the best explanation I've ever heard for it, because I think everybody's parents impacts them in a way, and even if you don't have a mom, if you don't have a dad, or one element of a parent is missing in your life, it does impact how you become a parent or you are in relationships. So thank you for sharing that.
Or you might have two parents that just don't have a healthy relationship, and you don't know what a healthy, thriving relationship looks like for both male and women. So,
Right.
But I also think it has a lot to do with your interpretation of just the whole notion in general. Because, one of the things that I see all the time in the rooms is like, I use myself as an example where I have two very prominent parents, very much in love, high school sweethearts, the full shebang, right? Checks all the boxes. Here I am breaking laws, running around, getting DUIs and all this other crazy stuff. And then you look at a person who, is growing up in the most chaotic of environments and ends up becoming, this very prominent figure, either in politics or society or whatever. So it's all about, I think far too often, don't get me wrong, society is important and environment is important.
Right.
But we talk about this all the time. It does not negate personal accountability, to your willingness to do the work, your willingness to look at these things and say, because like my dad talks about this a lot when he grew up with his mother, like that he made up in his mind very early on. He's like, I'm going to be a father and I'm going to be there for my children. And he didn't have a father available father figure, but he just made that decision in his mind. He's like, I'm like, not having a dad in my life is going to make me want to be a dad. And just as much as somebody who doesn't have a dad in their life may become an absentee father when they get older. It's all personal choice and personal accountability, which kind of goes back to what you were saying, which is, you are above your circumstances.
And you just said the key word is choice.
Yeah.
It's a conscious choice everybody makes. Everybody has a choice to make in how they react to things, So it's kind of like even if you grow up in a bad situation, you can choose to go the right way. Some people just choose to go the wrong way.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I think it also, just to play devil's advocate, it comes down to at least the way I'm seeing it and interpreting is before somebody can be conscious of that choice, they have to be in the right mindset, right frame of mind. Because something I often tell people when they're trying to do these life changes, I was like, look, life happens for you, not to you. And until you get to the mind frame that this is not happening to me, but it's happening for me, that's when you can start to think from that level of consciousness of choice and make the choices to move direction.
And so in order to choose to be great, do you think it is important for people to kind of do what you did, go back and evaluate their past to kind of help evaluate how to make the brightest future for them?
That's a difficult question for me to answer because I don't know for some if going back will help them or hurt them. For me, it helped me.
Oh, I like that.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
So, so if they can handle that, then yes. Or if they want to go back, because sometimes you do need to heal from certain things. It just depends on how far back you want to go, right?
Yeah.
And if you need help going through that process.
Right.
because it's not something that I would recommend doing it on your own if you're still in a very sensitive, very fragile
Right.
space.
But at least talk to somebody. Like
Yeah.
the best advice I heard that you just said is that you and your husband actually sat down and spoke with a therapist.
Mhm.
You know, and that's something, as I said, in our community, there's so much trauma based upon what our history is and what the environment we grew up in. And I believe that talking with somebody, there's a stigma against going to somebody and talking to them and just laying it all out, being vulnerable, especially now in our community. So talking with somebody, I believe, is so important. Before you even try to go back there, you know, really get that mental space where you can actually understand, like, how to actually approach it.
Yes.
You know, so.
And just out of curiosity, that was a stigma in your family too, right?
Oh yeah, they never went to therapy.
Yeah. So how did you, like, what prompted you to go to therapy after growing up in the stigma? We don't go see therapists.
I just, I was hurting. I was hurting
Yeah.
so bad, and I didn't have anyone to talk to. Like, I wasn't talking to my mom at the time. My friends weren't in spaces to where they could really give me advice or help me, get out of this depression that I was in. So I finally said, you know what? Let me try therapy. Let me see if that's going to help. And, I just went one day.
We call that the gift of desperation.
Mm.
Being desperate enough to be willing enough to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that.
I love that too. Love that.
Yeah, I did too.
All right.
We have a few minutes before we end our show. So, again, tell our listeners where they can go and
Yeah, where can they
and
find this beautiful
Yes,
book?
this beautiful book.
This beautiful piece of historic literature right here, ladies and
and
gentlemen.
find you.
You can find me at ConstanceGJones.com. You can find the book on Amazon,
Amazon,
Barnes and Noble,
Barnes and Noble.
and
snap.
everywhere else that books are sold online. You can
Don't
find
act
me.
like y'all don't have Amazon. You
Like-
know exactly where to go.
Amazon Prime.
Everywhere.
Emerging Butterfly Tours, dates. Do you got a website that they can also reach you
yes,
at and follow
yes,
you?
there's also theemergingbutterfly.com.
The Emerging Butterfly.
Theemergingbutterfly.com, and that
The
gives
one
you
and only the.
theemergingbutterfly.com,
Okay.
where you can read the first 2 chapters of my book, get a little sample.
Yeah.
Before you
Social media, Instagram. Where can
I
we
got
follow you?
Instagram. I got Twitter. Twitter is I am emerging. Instagram is ConstanceG.Jones. And
Constance G. Jones. Got it.
And Facebook is Constance Jones.
Yeah, hit
Okay.
the follow button,
I
hit
am
the like
Constance.
button. Anything else? Last words.
I
wisdom
do
for our
have a
listeners?
book signing
Okay.
March 8th at Diesel Bookstores
Okay.
in Solana Beach.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you gonna put that on the Instagram
I
somewhere?
am going to put
Of
that on my
course.
Instagram
Okay,
and
alright.
on my Facebook, yes.
Nice, nice.
And where can any other events that you have coming up soon? Because we know you do Elevate. We didn't even get
Wait,
into
we
the
didn't
Yeah.
dive into
I
Elevate.
haven't, I'm a little bit far behind on that right now with the book action.
Yeah.
going on,
Okay,
'cause
we'll
So right
I
now,
gotta-
priority is the book.
I got a plan for
Okay.
the rest of the year for Elevate because, we donate $20,000 every year to different organizations.
Yeah.
So I need to pick those.
And they won't say this, but this is out the kindness of their own heart, their own pockets. They're not fundraising for this. This is just straight out of the back.
Just sowing the seed. Just sowing.
Yeah,
Love that.
so, I love that. Let's give it up for you.
Yeah, give it up.
Thank you.
I really want to thank you for coming, and I
Yeah.
want to thank Terrell for bringing you here because, we could continue this conversation on and on and on. And I think, I was like, I'm going to start getting stuff off my chest. I'm sure a lot of us feel the same way,
Right.
but I think it is important for people to know that they could look to someone like you and realize you came from a family that wasn't perfect, and you had 9 brothers and sisters, and yet you totally have emerged into a butterfly. And also, you've mentioned that you still have more to go.
Right.
And so, I really want to thank you for coming. I think
Yes,
it was,
thank you so much,
Thank you so
Constance.
much
Thank
for
you so
having
much.
me.
Yeah,
This is
and I
awesome.
think it's also good to, hear a perspective from a black woman too, to talk about, the struggles of, having parents growing up in civil rights times and dealing with the things that they had to deal with as well.
Right.
So.
And I want to say your husband Claude, and when he came and he did his interview here, we still get people responding. telling
Yeah.
us, like, they love that interview. So
Okay.
And you
we
probably
can-
surpassed him right now.
Yeah,
I ain't gonna lie.
but the reason why I mentioned that is because I love the fact that as a couple, y'all are impacting the community. You're looking at giving back.
We got 10 seconds
You know,
left.
so
That's what they want us to know.
All right.
Black.
Well, look,
What
Thank
merchandise
you
you
so
Emerging
much.
Butterfly in stores now. Constance D. Jones. Don't be a victim of your circumstances. Your story matters. Go get it.
Go get
Go
it.
get
Thank
it.
you.
Emerging Butterfly. Oh, yeah.
Another day has gone.